You know, at this point, I probably sound like a broken record when I say how much I think people should embrace travel, how much I think people should embrace going outside of their backyard sometimes and being a tourist somewhere. It's even documented right here on this channel, me saying that if your surroundings and environment no longer suit you and there's another place that possibly could, then maybe you should even explore moving away longer term, possibly permanently. And although Americans are the primary target for that message, feedback tells me that many of you around the world actually agree with me. But speaking of tourism and travel, lately, it kind of seems that it's gotten kind of out of control. And in some places, the locals of said tourism are now frowning on so much of it around their homes. But out of the many cities, countries, continents to choose from to see, today I kind of want to talk about Europe. Europe is a continent rich in history, culture, and beauty. Every year, millions dream of flocking to its cities and countrysides, eager to experience its wonders. But beneath the surface of this picturesque dream lies a darker reality. Over the years, overcrowdedness has become a huge issue, apparently. Cities like Barcelona, Venice, and Amsterdam, they struggle to accommodate the sheer volume of visitors that they receive each year, especially during high season. Local residents find their daily lives disrupted, their public spaces overwhelmed. And if there's any one of you out there who values your privacy, I think this is something that can be understood, don't you? I also think it's fair to mention that here in Germany, where I live, tourism has had a hard time bouncing back after the pandemic. But the EU overall has done a good job coming back. The environmental toll that tourism can take on any given location can be severe. Travelers are probably unaware that they are but one of possible thousands of visitors to wherever they are. So the clutter that may be left behind by one person is essentially multiplied by thousands of people. Imagine that for a second. And tourists do leave behind tons of waste, much of it polluting the very landscapes that they came to admire. Iconic sites are suffering from wear and tear, and natural habitats are being destroyed. Keep in mind that also, it doesn't really have to be litter thrown on the ground to be an issue. The local disposal system can still get a bit overwhelmed and bogged down due to the influx of waste that has to go somewhere. All the trash that you might even throw in the waste bins and waste baskets still has to go somewhere. Tourism does bring economic benefits, but these benefits are often unevenly distributed. We know that big corporations and the lavish luxury hotels will profit, but what about those smaller businesses, the smaller residents? They often see very little of this. This could be because when people go on holiday or vacation, they tend to want to treat themselves. They want to do things that they don't normally do in their regular lives. So they kind of go all out. Like, why stay in a small hotel with very little in the way of amenities when they can stay in a larger big chain hotel and have all the things? Room service, bars, gyms, some even have swimming pools, hot tubs, and massage parlors. For many, they just don't see these things in their normal everyday life. I have touched on this in other videos, but the over-commercialization of some cultures, that is another unfortunate casualty in the onset of touristification. A society's traditions do nothing but become diluted. Some local customs get transformed into merely nothing but performances for tourist money. What could have been once an authentic cultural experience gets replaced by nothing but shallow imitations. I personally am not a fan of this. As I mentioned before, in another video I spoke about even here in Germany how things are changing rapidly, and many cultural things that I saw less than even 10 years ago have gone or are disappearing. Comment below if you want to know some examples. I typically respond to everybody. When you're a visitor, especially only once, you wouldn't notice this, but over time, sometimes infrastructure can struggle to keep up with the demands of tourism. Historical sites suffer from constant or overuse. Public transportation systems are oftentimes completely overburdened. Another topic I covered about here with the German transportation system. And essentially, services themselves are stretched pretty damn thin. For example, think of the restaurants that have to keep up with the influx of hungry ass people and how backed up they can get. The more people they take on, the more people they have to turn away. Believe it or not, some places just couldn't foresee this kind of influx of tourism and just weren't designed to handle that much. Rising costs and, in some cases, gentrification sometimes displace local communities. Housing prices soar, everyday expenses can increase, and this all makes it difficult for residents to remain in their homes or just remain in their local community comfortably. Pretty messed up when they had very little to do with the causes of these struggles. They were just the ones left behind while everybody else just simply goes home. All is not lost with tourism. I'm still a huge fan of getting out and visiting places. Sustainable tourism practices are emerging, I can see it, but communities are starting to kind of fight back against burdening tourism. I can see communities kind of advocating for policies that balance tourism with the preservation of quality of life, and also taxing. That's right, some countries in Europe are allowing the implementation of bans, fines, taxes, and fees. I've read that even church is monetized in some places. Yeah, you gotta pay to pray. But this wasn't a fully capitalistic move, I don't think. Well, not all of it. I think the people, the locals, just got tired of the crowds, the mess, the noise, air, and other pollution, the housing shortages, the traffic, the unlawful violations, the drugs, and the overall carelessness and exploitation of their livelihood. Tourism don't gotta be a curse. Being a tourist isn't synonymous with being a heathen. I live in Germany. When I'm visiting these other countries and I'm in these other places, I am a tourist. But the only thing I leave behind is maybe my money. I'm not a flashy person, I'm not a messy person, and I'm not a disrespectful person. I love being a low-key type of traveler. But trust me when I say that we do not want to get to a point where full-on zero tolerance bans on visitors and tourists start to happen. I personally wouldn't be happy with that, and I'm assuming that those getaways that a lot of y'all take every year, once a year sometimes, is your break away from your reality. You might want to try to protect that, because even with slightly thoughtful planning and responsible practices from everyone, we can ensure that what's special about traveling and being a tourist is preserved. The choice is ours.
On your mind, like you're on my mind tonight. Oh yeah.
And as I'm walking through this park, I gotta be honest, these are the places where I do most of my reflecting, how I have to stop reaching for more and thinking that if I don't obtain those more things, how that's somehow considered a failure, because it's not. I've beat the odds and I've come through so much in my lifetime, and I've done more than most people will by the time they're my age. And it's just one of those things that I'd like to do, just sit and appreciate things just for a moment.